you a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month ago, about plates of plenty. I don't know if you remember that story. I got to share it with you again because I can't get it off my mind. You know, sometimes a person's living testimony becomes our greatest testimony, and the grace that's in that story, I'd just like to share little snippets with you one more time. But from a vantage point of love, but we can't forget grace because they're intertwined. I work I was a speech therapist, as you know, for well over 12 years in South Carolina. And I worked in this nursing home, and I saw a lady 2 days a week, and her name was Mrs. June. On Wednesdays when I would see Mrs. June, it was pretty mundane. We'd go through our therapy, and she was always kind, and I want to be kind to her, so I'll say I was kind. I was probably in a rush, so I tried to be kind. But on Fridays, there was a spirit in the atmosphere. Because when I would arrive after lunchtime, Mrs. June's daughter would have been there. And Mrs. June's daughter came every Friday religiously. And she would always bring her a plate of food that was different from the nursing home food. So she really appreciated that plate of food. And she would say to me, as most of you know, here's my plate of plenty, whatever was left of it. It might be apple pie, it could be ribs. I mean, we were in the South, so cornbread. But it was her plate of plenty, and she was so thankful for this plate, and she was so thankful for the visit, that even our therapy session would take a little, she'd work harder because she was so happy. And on one of those occasions, when her daughter had left her a really nice plate of plenty, I happened to say to Mrs. June, boy, Miss June, you sure are blessed to have a daughter who does this for you every single week. And as many of you know, she began to cry. And I didn't have pastoral care experience, and so her crying made me very uncomfortable. So I'm like, you be okay, doing what I could. And she told me, she said, you just don't understand. I don't deserve what I get. I don't deserve this plate. I don't deserve it. And I'm trying to convince her that, yes, you deserve it, you got it, you deserve it. And she's like, no, I don't deserve it. And she went on to tell me that she got pregnant with this daughter when she was in college by a college professor. And the professor threatened her and denied her and told her that if she did not leave school, he would make sure her life was miserable because he wasn't going to mess his tenure up over this situation. So she quit. Her family was extremely embarrassed by this situation, so they did not support her. So she found herself as a pregnant single mom, raising a daughter, 2 jobs, she never finished school, and the one thing that she did do was remind that daughter on a regular basis that she was a problem in her life. She made it a part of her life theme to tell her daughter on a consistent basis, it's because of you that I haven't achieved what I need to achieve. It's because of you that I am where I am in life right now. By the time this child was 9 years old, she could cook, she could clean, she could iron, because her mother might have found a boyfriend that she might leave for the weekend with. That's how this woman was living. She actually said to me, my daughter had more uncles than she could count over the course of her life. And she said, so you see, the fact that she would take time out of her Friday to come and see me and to genuinely want nothing from me because I have nothing to give her makes me tell you I don't deserve deserve this. And not only is that grace, you want to see grace, that's the living testimony of grace. Getting something we don't deserve. Sinners, we all are sinners, saved by grace. We don't deserve the salvation of Christ. When we think about what we've done, how we've lived, we're all Mrs. Junes to some degree. We don't deserve what God has given us. Hers is an example of grace, but it's also an example of love. The power of love to overcome hate, to overcome abuse, to overcome that which we could deservedly say, I'll never speak to you again. I have no idea what was going on in this daughter's head. But I feel the presence of God's love in her acts, in her testimony, and in the way in which she has chosen to treat her mother.